Welcome back to Lorna's story. I believe this is chapter 4.
Part 4. We made it.
Last, indeed. Last session, you were sent on your task to find a familiar. And you did. You met Requiem in the Shadowfell, who is a Kierkegaard, aka a church grim, a ghost hound. And now, you've had him for about a week. You've been going to your studies every day, understanding the Find Familiar spell and the various other things. And today, this morning, you arrive in Tabernac's classroom. It looks like Callie and Hal have only just arrived themselves, performing their own studies. And as you arrive, you hear Tabernac say,
"Ah, Lorna, perfect. You're just who I need to speak with this morning.
Oh?
How comfortable are you working in a city?"
Define work, sir.
"Well, part of your duties as a Marigard student is occasionally you will be sent on tasks that you will complete not only for the Marigard's reputation, but also to further your education. Part of them is sometimes your duties will take place within a city. In this case, I happen to have a task I need you to complete here in Ferrum."
I see no problem with that. I can handle it, surely.
"I know you can, which is why I'm choosing you for this specific job, as your tastes towards transmutation should make this a walk in the park. Have I explained to you how our free agencies work?"
Well, I went on that voyage to the Shadowfell.
"Right.
I was partnered.
That was a task for another contractor. A free agency normally, as I did mention, that was a unique one.
Mm-hmm.
A free agency is a job the Marigard will perform that is less dangerous, less impactful, but we do it for free. It's an opportunity to teach our students. Unfortunately, as a teaching experience goes, our customers realize their mileage may vary. But not you, as you are a wizarding student, right?
Last time I checked.
And so surely we can be rest assured that your task will be handled promptly and without compromise.
Of course.
Fantastic. Now, as this is taking place in Ferrum, you will need to be partnered with a local, at least one from a nearby area. And so, have you met Anscombe Frost?
I don't believe so, sir.
That's good enough. He is one of the fighter's students, and he will be accompanying you on this free agency, as he appears to be, from Siren's Respite, which is only maybe a day's ride.
All right. Should I go and find him now?
If you report to Persh, he will summon him for you, or you could venture down to the fighter's room if you'd like to do it yourself.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, and I might as well familiarize myself with the other faculty.
Very well. Once you are ready and have everything you need to begin, you will report to the Ferrum Constabulary, and speak with Captain Hallstrom.
Captain Holstrom.
He will have the assignment ready.
Holstrom. And what was the other recruit's name?
Anscombe.
Anscombe. Interesting. Was it Frost?
Yes, Anscombe Frost.
All right. And do I know the details of what I'm supposed to do, or will Captain Hallstrom tell me?
The Hallstrom will fill you in. From what I understand, there is some new illicit substance arriving in Ferrum, and they'd like to put a stop to it.
All right. Shall I go now? Okay. Well, thank you, sir, and I will depart.
Best of luck to you.
And you look, and Callie just waves as you walk by.
I wave back. Hi, Callie.
You can see what she looks like, as well as Halitheth on their tokens.
Yeah, he looks like a prick.
Turns out. Okay. You head out. Now, you're not entirely sure where the fighter's room is, but it is basically, it's got to be one of the doors on the way. So why don't you roll me an investigation check?
All right. I'm pretty good at those.
You're pretty good at those, yeah.
Yes, I'm quite good at those.
With a
Just have to
24,
follow the smell of sweat. I'm sure I'll find it.
unfortunately, that is definitely the case for most of the martial rooms. But as you're walking, and Requiem silently lopes along next to you, you do eventually find a door that is very simple. It's carved of wood, but unlike many of the other doors, there's no ornamentation on it. And a simple metal plaque on it just says, Fighters.
I would enter.
As you open the door, there are 6 people in here that are training. They are in the middle of beating the heck out of each other with quarterstaffs, it looks like. They are wearing various forms of armor. And there is, to your right, a towering Goliath of a man with a battle axe just over his shoulder, almost as if the portrait that you saw of him was just a life still, because he still has the same axe over his shoulder. And as the door opens, he turns and says, Hello! Good morning! How may I help you?
Hello, Illerad. Is that you?
That is me. It's pleasure. Have I met you before?
You have not. My name is Lorna. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Class, halt! And now the entire group just, like in the middle of beating the hell out of each other with sticks, they drop the quarterstaffs down. And Illerad says, It is a pleasure. Again, as I've said. Now, how may I be helping you, Lorna?
I have been assigned to a free agency, and I was paired with Mr. Frost and was told to find him here.
Illerad turns and says, Anscombe! And this, to the far side of the room, a very tall, not nearly as tall as the instructor, but a very tall half-orc man in what looks like half-plate armor. It doesn't quite fit him very well. Kind of looks up, and you see he's got short, shaved hair, and he says, that's me. And Illerad says, You're on call! Do not make us ashamed! And Anscombe just kind of, yes, sir. And you see he, like, runs to the wall, gathers up some equipment, and he throws it in the bag over his shoulder, and he approaches and says, Right, I'm Anscombe. What, you need my help?
Yes, I'm your partner on this free agency.
Oh.
My name is Lorna.
It's nice to meet you. Am I dismissed? And Illerad says, Get out of here! And he says to you, he says, It's been a pleasure, ma'am. Treat him well.
Of course, sir.
And then he says, Right, the rest of you maggots, get back in the fort! And he's like yelling at everyone, and the fighters get back to what they're doing.
I will wordlessly gesture Anscombe to lead out of the room.
He does. And as he leaves the room and the door closes behind you, you can kind of see him go, Oh, okay.
He was intense.
He takes his training very seriously. He seems to know what he's doing, though, so...
Suppose that makes a good teacher. That's what you're there for.
So Anscombe Frost has joined the party for the moment.
Oh, hello.
Of course, I figured.
I'm allowed to say hello. There's nothing behind that.
You're a monster. You see that as he is like outside the door, he like opens his bag and starts like putting on his actual gear. And as he does, he says, "Right, so do you know what it is we're doing?"
A vague notion. We are supposed to go to the constabulary in Farum, and we'll get more instruction from there.
Okay. Are we supposed to hit something? I don't really understand why you needed a fighter unless.
Well, I don't know yet, but I can imagine that they've thought this through, and I'm sure your skills are up to the task.
I just started. I don't know about that. But
It's like my second week here. I completely understand.
oh, it's only my first.
Well, then
So-
we'll be learning together, so don't worry.
Great. I guess are we talking to Purse then? I've never done these before.
Oh, it's weird me being the more knowledgeable one. I suppose we'll check in with him and let him know we're going. See if he has any more information for us.
Okay, lead the way.
Sure. Are you ready to go now? It seems like you've gotten
I
the
have
hell
got
beat
all-
out of you.
Oh, I'm fine. Don't worry about that. I'm fine.
Okay. I don't have any healing magic, so...
I did really. It was just Carver. He can't hit for. It's fine.
Okay. I will lead back to Persh.
You hear,
This one seems nervous around you.
You think so?
Yes.
Can I insight check him now that Requiem has pointed this out?
yeah,
It's a pretty decent roll.
Anscombe, he looks maybe 20. He's young. And there are some social graces that are not in him. He seems uncomfortable, he seems out of place, and he seems nervous. He definitely seems a little anxious.
Okay. She'll pause in her step after she's assessed this from him. She'll lightly touch his shoulder and say, "You can take a deep breath, Anscombe. You'll be fine. We'll figure this out together."
All right.
Why don't you roll a persuasion check?
Okay. Natural fucking 20. Or 27.
You see, he thinks you're genuine, and he kind of just
Right. Everyone starts somewhere. Yeah.
Of course.
he kind of rolls his shoulders and says, "Sorry, just it's my training's been it's lots of yelling."
Okay. We're good. Thank you.
And he seems
can-
to gather himself a little.
I can see where that might be useful in some circumstances, but I'm not much of a yeller, so I hope you're okay with that.
It'll be nice on the ears. He says it's important for dealing with the stress of a battle, and I'm sure he's right. But I grew up on a farm, so you know, a quiet cattle farm where if you yell, the cows get startled. So it's new to me.
I see. Well, I'm sure that you'll bring a variety of skill that not even I can expect.
I can hit things real good.
I'm sure you're more than that.
We'll see about that. And he just kind of half smiles at you, he seems a little relieved that you are not going to yell at him.
I will give him one last pat on the shoulder, and then I will continue leading us to Persh now.
Okay. It's not far. The fighter's classroom is only maybe 50 feet from the actual main hall. So you emerge out, and Persh is, as always, doing paperwork. And you see there is another individual seated, like, in the lobby. It looks like they're waiting.
A new recruit.
Another new recruit, yes. This one is very, very tall. Another Goliath. Persh looks up as you enter and he says, Miss Lorna,
Hello,
how can I
Persh.
help you?
We are on a free agency. I thought we'd check in before we go.
I do have you on the docket here. Oh, this might be a significant one. Are you ready for it?
I must be.
Hey, Tabernacle doesn't fuck it up. Let's see here. You are to report to Captain Hallstrom
Yes.
in reference to... Haze.
Haze.
Haze. It's a, Oh, it's a drug. Right.
He did say something about an illicit substance that was making its way through the city.
Right, so just mention to Captain Hallstrom you're from the Marigard on your agency regarding Haze, and he will inform you with what you need to know. Do you know where the constabulary is?
I wouldn't mind if you pointed me in the right direction.
Okay. Once you get out onto the main stretch, to the left you'll find the main guard's post, but that's not where Captain Hallstrom is. You're going to want to proceed down 2 blocks if you take a right, and then 1 block in, you'll see the constabulary along with the jailhouse. That's where you're going to need to go.
Okay, and it's a pretty obvious building.
Ah, there'll be guards all around it.
All right, we'll be able to figure this out.
I have absolute faith in you. And Anscombe, how you handle it, new recruit? And Anscombe's, it's interesting. I'm learning a lot. And Percy says, I don't really care. Best of luck. And, and Anscombe says, I heard that a lot. Right. And he just kind of nods. Percy says, best of luck.
Okay. And we exit the Marigard Academy.
Okay, which pulls us to the map of Farum. So, as you exit the Marigard Academy out into the main stretch, where you can see people milling about their business this morning, it's maybe 9:30 in the morning. Vendors are going about their trades. People are getting their own businesses up in order. People are going back and forth between shops, gathering their groceries, buying, selling wares. Exactly what you'd expect for an early morning in Farum. What do you do?
I follow the directions Persh gave me. We head towards the constabulary, but on the way, since Persh said he didn't care, I'm going to inquire on Anscombe's training and say, so what kind of fighting style are you looking to master here?
Oh, well, Elrod says I'm real good at fighting what I can't see, 'cause growing up on a farm around cattle, I kind of got good at detecting when things were going to go bad, so he calls it blind fighting.
I've never heard of such a thing.
It's, I kind of grew up with it, so I can't really talk much on it. But he's teaching me how to use it and how to fight things that I can't see that are real close to me. And it's pretty fun. It's hard. I got a lot of whacks on the head, but
Gee, are you blindfolded?
yeah.
Wow. I kind of can't wait to see you in action.
I can. The best fight's the one you avoid. But
Suppose that's wise.
yeah, the first step's always to run from it. But if you can't run, that's, I've got this. And he pulls the hilt of a longsword up and then tucks it back into the scabbard.
That'll do it. I'm gonna be honest with you, Anscombe. I've been in maybe 2 fights since I've gotten here. I've never actually been hurt before.
Never.
No, I've managed to avoid it thus far. Magic is helpful in such endeavors, but I'm a little worried. I've never really experienced pain before, not in that way.
Well, I've got my emergency, and he opens up a satchel, and it shows 2 potions in there. And he says, I've got my emergency stash if we get into a tight spot. But if we handle this right, I don't think we'll get in a fight. Whatever we're doing.
That's ideal.
If we handle it wrong, I hope to be scary enough they don't, whoever it is, decide to hit us. And worst comes to worst, you can always run. I'm a fan of that one,
I'm actually not really good at that either.
Everyone's good at running. What do you mean? You just run.
I've never had to run before. I don't know how to explain this to you. I'm not exactly physically inclined. And she holds up an arm and flexes, and it's pathetic.
Yeah, but you got less weight to move around. You just have to move quickly, Trust me, when the moment happens and we need to run, let instincts take over, because they'll handle all of it.
Okay. Take your word for it.
Hey, as the fighter, this is the thing I know, okay? I have a whole week of training.
A whole week.
A whole week of it.
I will defer, and she bows to the expert.
Perfect. Right. Where are we? And at that moment, I need you to roll a D100 for a random encounter.
Okay. 7.
7.
Mm-hmm.
As you're walking, you feel like what you're seeing isn't quite actually there. You're walking by these townhouses that are real close together. Only one of them, your passives are good enough that you see there's something off about them. Would you kindly please roll me an investigation check?
Okay. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's a natural 19. With a 26, you see right through this illusion of a townhouse. And instead, beyond it, you see a garden.
A garden?
A very densely grown garden of plants that... Why don't you roll Arcana for me?
Okay. Oof, not as good.
With a 15, you know some of these plants are obviously exotic spell component plants. This looks like a garden that is growing magical plants. And as you're looking at it, through the dense foliage and vegetation of this garden, Anscombe's next to you and he says, "What are we looking at?" And while you're looking at it, you notice there is a halfling milling between the plants, tending to them.
Something very curious. Give me one moment. She'll walk up to the edge of the garden.
There is a fence that the illusion was hiding, so it's like up to your waist, basically.
And she'll say, excuse me.
The halfling.
What? Oh, you can see me. Yes. Hello.
Yes. Sorry.
What? What do you want?
I'm sure you put this illusion up for some privacy. I just couldn't help but notice.
I'm just the gardener. I just tend to these. Nope, not my illusion. You're the first that could see me, though. What, who are you? Oh, you're a Marigod. I know you.
Yes.
Right. How can I? What do you want?
I was just wondering what this was.
This is the apothecary's garden.
Which apothecary?
And the halfling points, and it's clearly the very same apothecary, Bud's.
It's Bud's. Bud's has a hidden garden.
Apparently
wow.
so.
Interesting. Is this supposed to be a secret?
You're looking through an illusion right now, ma'am.
And Anscombe says, "Who's talking?"
There's the house is an illusion. There's a garden within
When
it.
you point it out to him, Anscombe goes, "Oh!" And he looks.
Pops into view.
Yeah, he suddenly can see it. And the halfling says,
Oh, great, perfect. More can see. But yes, well.
Sorry. It was hard not to notice.
I'm going to have to.
and he seems very miffed that the illusion's been seen through.
And he says, "Right, well, you're lucky. Bud said good things about you. I recognize you now.
Yes, you can expect no trouble from me, and I won't tell anyone.
Perfect.
So, what do you want?
What's your name?
Thomas.
Hi, Thomas. Just nice to meet you.
Well, it's nice to meet you too.
I hope you have a good day and continue to tend this beautiful garden.
He seems to relax when it's clear you have not pierced the illusions with like malevolent intentions, and he just kind of like he's got like shears that he was holding kind of at the ready, and he relaxes and says, well, yes, it was very nice to meet you too. Blessed business to you. And he goes back to tending to the plant that he was working on.
I'm sure I'll see you around sometime.
And hopefully not, unless I mess it up again.
She'll pat Anscombe on the back and say, "All right, let's go."
That was very.
That was weird. And
It was.
He follows you.
It stood out. I suppose I'm learning more in my classes than I thought I was.
Oh, you don't think you would have seen that if it hadn't been for your training?
I don't know.
Well,
What about,
I never
what
saw
about
it.
you, Mr. Blindsight?
That's different.
Suppose I still don't know how your skills work.
It's more about if someone's trying to hit me. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't. I've never been hit before.
right, you mentioned that. Okay. Well, let's not worry about it for now.
All right. If
And
it comes up, it comes up.
great. And he just kind of follows you down the street. And you make your way toward the constabulary. It isn't hard to find, with the directions that you were given, and the fact that it is a stone building that sits amongst a bunch of other wooden buildings, and it is indeed surrounded by town guards, that it is clearly it's the constabulary. And as you round the corner, a couple of guards are just kind of, it looks like they're just loitering. They have helmets off, they're clearly off duty, and as you're approaching, one of the guards says, "Oh, hey! We got fresh meat coming up. Don't have too much fun."
You expect fun, sir?
Oh, there's always something fun going on around about town.
I suppose we'll have to see. Is Captain Hallstrom in?
Oh, he's in there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And he takes a bite out of a sandwich.
Yummy.
You want some?
Does it look like a good sandwich?
No. It's kind of a soggy looking sandwich. It looks like it was in a package for too long.
I ate already, but I really appreciate the offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I will lead the way.
And don't stare. Hellstrom doesn't like it.
Sorry, what? Don't stare?
Don't stare. You'll know what I mean when you see him.
Okay. Sure. She'll give him a odd look and enter.
Okay. What's your passive perception?
15.
Oh, as you're heading in, you see that guard kind of nudge the guard next to him, just like amused at your confusion, or knows something you don't know. That sort of
I'm going to assume it's probably both.
Probably. You head into the constabulary. The counter is occupied by a guard who is in armor, but their helmet's off and on the table. And they look up as you enter, and he says, "Morning.
Good morning.
What you need?"
Lorna and Anscombe here to see Captain Hallstrom.
And he opens up a binder and he starts shifting it through, and he's like, is this about...
Hayes.
Oh, so you're not... Okay. Captain! And there's a brief shuffle, and you hear of a door opening and some loud footsteps. And then the shortest, most broad individual. You're proficient in Arcana, so you know this is an Earth Genasi. But this man looks as though he's made of rock.
Mm-hmm.
Almost as if he is an Earth Golem. And one of his eyes is clearly scarred and shut. The other eye is looking at you, and he says, "Right. Hayes. That dwarf fellow said you'd be coming bound today.
And here we are.
And your name's?
Lorna. And this is Anscombe.
Well, pleased to meet you.
And the captain looks at both of you and says,
Right, you'll do. Follow me.
and he like coughs up a rock, and some pebble flies across the room.
Should I try not to react to that?
Sure. This is going to be a deception.
Oh, great. I'm pretty good at those.
Yeah, you're all right. Yeah, it seems to.
Don't
Why
even
is your
flinch.
deception higher than your Arcana?
I took expertise. in
Why?
deception. Because I think lying is going to be very useful for Lorna.
Apparently you do. As you clearly stone face as this.
I'm very well raised.
Apparently so. The cross knew what they were doing. As you
Ugh.
head into another room, you see it is likely the captain's office, as there are all sorts of parchments and wanted postings that are all over the place and files, and he's like shuffling them off and says,
Right, so. What have you heard?
Not much more than haze is something dangerous that's making its way through the city.
Well, you're right about that. I was hoping for someone comfortable with transmutation magic. Is that you?
On my way to learning it, yes, sir.
On your way?
Still
Well,
new.
I guess free is free. Right. Its species name is Intoculus mora, and it's new in town. We know its residue rings of transmutation magic. It's a drug that it's a paste, and you rub it inside your lip, makes you feel relaxed and euphoric. However, if that individual is also under the influence of a similar drug known as impact, Intoculus mora instead pushes them into a berserk rage.
Oh.
They don't get along. And unfortunately, the new folks around town bringing in this new drug that the current junkies enjoy imbibing when they try and mix them, as they always do in their cocktails, we end up with some violent crimes on our hands. But that's not what you're here for. All I want you to do is find a seller, figure out where it's coming from, what it's actually made of, and who it is in town that's making more of it.
And then report back?
Well, you'll keep it to yourself. It's simple, really. And anything you can find, even if you can't get all those answers, any information you bring us will be a boon.
Okay.
And I realize this is a free trade, but if you give us everything we need, I'll make sure there's a bounty in it for you.
Fantastic. Okay. Find a seller. What it's made of. Is that what was one of the questions?
Aye, what it's made of, who's making it, and where it first came from. So we know where to send the word.
Okay.
I've already
Sorry, go ahead.
I've already spoke with other guides in other towns, and no one else on this side of the ocean's seen it. So we're pretty sure it's coming from across the pond.
All right. Do you have a general place that illicit users generally meet?
They don't really like being caught, so they're always mixing it up. But generally, the junkies around the gates near the Heather Garden.
Gates, Heather Garden.
Also the docks. The docks are always a bit of a scum pile, but only at night. So you might want to try there at night.
Okay, it makes sense if it's coming from the across the sea that it would conglomerate around the docks.
Right. If you find yourself in any trouble, or if you think you're going to be encountering anyone that might be akin to Berserk, please don't investigate that and instead tell us. You're just students. I don't want any heads on my hands.
Understood.
Right. So, any other questions?
I look at Edscum to see if he has anything that's come up.
Yeah. What does it look like?
That's a good question.
And Scum, like, I thought so. And the captain says,
Right, looks a bit like, usually they, sell it in these little, like an oak leaf that they've bent over, and inside it's a paste. It's a grey paste. Some of our frequent users, they've got a bit of a blue tinge to their lower teeth.
Okay.
I think that's just a side effect. I don't think they, particularly like it. Also, they complain of everything tasting of soil.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds very natural. Have you considered asking the apothecary if
Aye.
they know anything?
Bud's working on it. She's trying to destabilize the mixture and find out what's inside. But she hasn't had it.
and another rock just goes across the room.
Excuse me. She hasn't had any luck.
So you've had some acquired.
Oh, why? You can get a leaf of it for 2 silver.
Do you have any now that we could take a look at?
It's in evidence, but
Why don't you roll persuasion?
Dirty 20. I'm pretty confident in my arcanic abilities.
The commander kind of ho-hums about it and says,
I guess it'll make sense for you to have something to work from.
and then he goes out into the room, into another room that has basically iron bars separating it. There's like, as he unlocks it and pulls open an enormous box. And then there's some leafing around, and he comes back, and he holds out a brown parchment wrapped small object, and he says,
I expect to see all of that back. No
course.
easy highs, you rascals.
I assure you, it's not really a hobby I partake in.
Good. I'd hate to have to leave a bad review with the Marigard as to your performance.
You would never consider that, I promise. She'll hold her hand out for the parcel.
and he hands it to you. You can write down you have 1 dose of haze.
Nice. Okay. Do you mind if I take a look at this here?
No,
Okay.
but I do have paperwork to do.
And he goes,
Sure,
he sits
sure.
back down on the desk and does exactly as he said.
She'll find a flat surface to examine this more closely.
Yeah, you can take up like a corner of his desk. Go ahead and roll me an investigation.
I'm so fucking smart.
As you open the brown parchment, you see, as he's described, there is a large oak leaf. It's about the size of maybe your a whole hand. It's folded over, and when you peel it open, there is a sticky gray substance, and it's very sticky. The leaf has a hard time opening all the way, and it doesn't look like very much. It looks like just enough that you might scrape it up with your finger and then rub it on your gum line, as the drug is described to be used. It seems granular, as if the paste is made up of a liquid and a solid, and the solid is a little bit mixed into it. And it shines, it reflects light in the room off of it fairly well. The gray of the paste is also, it's not a uniform gray. It seems as though there's slight speckles of light blue and tiny little speckles of red in it as well.
Okay. Can I take a whiff? See if it has a distinct smell to it.
You try to smell it, and I'm going to need you to roll a perception here to try
Okay.
and, because it's not a strong odor.
Oh, terrible. Don't have a very strong nose.
All you smell is the leaf. You can't really smell anything under that.
So it's an herbal concoction. Paste of soil, huh? You ever heard of anything like this, Anscombe? I suppose you wouldn't. You're from around here, and this is the first they've ever heard of it themselves.
Yeah, I'm afraid not. It doesn't look like anything I've seen either.
Since I'm from across the pond, does it sound like anything I've ever heard of?
Roll a history.
I know I kind of grew up a little sheltered, but
You did. I don't actually. Go ahead and roll history.
okay.
You could always roll super fucking high.
I did.
What's your total?
I really
A
did.
26. Oh. In the house you grew up in, drugs and other sorts of intoxicants, aside from alcohol and the occasional very formal pipe smoking, doesn't really come up. There is mention of using intoxicants in the journal as a way of coaxing people to do things, but nothing was ever called haze. There were intoxicants that reduced people's resistance to suggestions and things like that. So there might be something to this there.
In my journal.
There might be some connections that could be drawn between drugs that your predecessor might have used.
Okay, well, there is a resource, Anscombe, that I'd like to check. We'd have to head back to the Marigard for it.
Oh.
But, well, you know, my type is book.
Oh, you mean like in
Research.
Tabernacle's library and stuff? Okay.
In
Sure.
some ways. He did say the docks are a good place that we could check. And he did say that night is best. It's late morning, so we have plenty of time to get a little research in.
Hey, sure. This is you're leading the charge here. I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. I'm glad you have so much faith in me.
I mean, it's not in me.
It should be.
Respectfully, you don't know anything about me. I could be a big idiot.
Okay. Well, guess you're right. Captain Hallstrom,
Yeah. What?
do you need this back immediately? Or can I help my research with it?
Oh, I intended when you get done, you can bring it back. I just expect to
Alright.
see all of it in there.
Of course, sir. Thank you. We will return, hopefully with more information soon.
Mm-hmm. Don't commit any crimes.
I would never.
Right.
And he goes back to work.
Alright, let's see what we can find at the Marigard.
Okay. So you leave the constabulary and you go straight back to the Marigard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Map change. You return to the Marigard Academy. Well, actually, it's far enough. I need another random encounter, so not quite a map change. Roll me a D100.
Gotcha. 97.
Okay. Reroll that. That doesn't work here.
Okay, 1 second. 75.
75. Okay. As you're walking up the street, and you're right near Bud's shop again, you see Bud, the door opens, and Bud, I don't read cards! How many times do I have to tell you? Figure it out yourself! And then a young man, like a gnome, actually, is hurled out onto the street and flat on his chest. And he's, well, fine, you didn't have to be... And he gets up, and he looks around and sees you.
Are you okay?
Oh, I'm a little bit dirty, but I'm fine. Ow!
Well, what happened?
I was maybe a little pushy, but I just wanted to see if the nice apothecary would read. And, okay, so now this is going to be a history check at disadvantage because it's very likely you've seen what he's showing you. But they are these... They look like they're made of obsidian, and they're very thin. They're cards, and they have holes punched in them in various ways. Go ahead and roll history at disadvantage.
Disadvantage.
Yes.
Wow.
That's pretty good. 24.
RIP natural 20.
So, it's interesting, because you may not know exactly what these are. But based on the fact that this man was thrown out of an apothecary, and he's a gnome that is wearing this long, almost professor-like coat that's made of tweed, and he's dressed very properly, although now it's covered in dust from the street, and he's holding up these obsidian cards. They look like gnomish transcription cards, which are the sort of things that different recipes are recorded on, and then they're sent away to another chemist or alchemist to make heads or tails of. Usually they contain like a recipe or directions or something like that. That's for a complicated process. And so they're made by hole punches so they don't get it wrong. Because they're very specific.
Is there any reason Bud would throw him out for though?
You don't know. Anyway,
What?
As he's standing up, he says, ugh! Oh! I think I cracked my back. Ugh.
What happened?
Well, do you know, you're very nice. Don't worry about it. I'll be okay. I'll be just fine.
Forgive me, I'm just confused. Bud seems... She's generally very amicable. I'm baffled.
I made a mistake. I may have said something a little bit too forward. And so out I was cast. And as I think on it, that might have been the best choice. So, it's fine. I'll take my business elsewhere. And
You were just doing apothecary business with your transcription cards?
I was Oh, you know what these are?
Sure. Well, I'm educated.
Well,
Is there some way I can help?
can you read them? Can you speak
Cannot.
Gnomish?
No.
No, you cannot read them.
Hold on. Maybe I have a spell. Nope, I don't have.
No, you
comprehend
cannot.
languages.
You cannot read them. It's. I should have stopped by the Tinkerers. They were way better off. I just got into town and I thought an apothecary, based on where I got these from, maybe they would be able to help me. But I maybe was a little rude, and I regret it.
I can help you mend that bridge.
I don't know if you can.
What did you say, sir?
You see his cheeks kind of blush, and he says, I think I'll be on my way. I appreciate your concern, but it's off to work with me. And he just walks down the street away from you.
Okay. Anscombe, do you mind a brief stop before we head back to the Marigard?
No, I think maybe pursuing this might be right in line with what we're doing.
Huh? I'm going to head into Bud's.
Okay. You see Bud is, just as you remember, she's this very stout, very muscly dwarf as she is brushing herself off and is heading back up behind the counter. And when you enter, she says, "Hi, Lorna! It's a pleasure to
Hello.
see you again. You got more work you need. You can
Sort
always
of.
pay for more."
I am a little curious about what I just saw. The gnome.
Huh. What you curious about?
It might fall in line with what I'm
She, like, folds her
attempting
arms.
to do, but he said something to you. That might have been rude.
What'd you hear?
His face turned red and he walked away. But he had transcription papers. I assume that's kind of standard fare for alchemy and recipes.
It is, if you're a gnome.
Is it because of that you wouldn't work with him?
No, it's what's on them.
I'm sorry, I don't speak Gnomish.
How'd you know what they are?
I read a lot. I read a lot.
You read some weird books, Lorna. It's I'm not an alchemist. I'm an herbalist.
Okay?
Make potions and salves. Gather up spell components for those of you that need them. That sorts of thing. That fellow, he brought in ingredients cards for an unpleasant concoction. The sort of thing I wouldn't be putting my hands in.
What kind of unpleasant concoction? Is it illegal?
No, I don't think so. It's the sort that could turn someone's will. Mind
Sort of-
control.
Right. Very dubious morality involved with those kinds of mixtures.
Mm-hmm. And nothing I'll have a part of.
Understand that? Did he say what he wanted it for?
No, I read the card and didn't want anything to do with it. And he kept trying to insist that I help him. So I threw him out.
He wanted the ingredients, or he wanted you to make it?
He wanted the ingredients.
Do you know where he came from?
He sounded like he came from the capital, Ogre City.
All right. Sorry. You might actually know what I'm involved with. I recently spoke with Captain Hallstrom about the troublesome mixture that's been in Farron recently.
You see, she kind of like takes a sigh and says, "Yeah, he stopped by."
Yeah, but he said that you were looking into it, but you know.
I'm trying. It's not easy. No alchemist, as I said to him. It's hard to break down what half of these ingredients are when you don't know what they were in the first place.
Right, of course. I just thought there could be a connection here. This strange man wanting.
I can tell you part of what's in its red fern.
Red fern.
Aye.
All right. Do you know what that would have? What effect that would have?
Well, I know that in magic, it's the sort of thing that breaks down inhibitions. Makes it easier to make choices. Similar to alcohol. But in a plant. Also doesn't have the weird intoxicant.
All right. That is helpful, and it makes sense. How many different elements do you think
Oh,
comprise this? Numerous?
there's many. There's the base, which is some sort of oil. I don't know what it is. There's a mineral, at least one. There's the red fern, as I've said. And then there's something else, and I can't place it. I can't make out if it's a mineral or a polymer or a plant. I don't know what it is. As it evades me, as if... It's as if my methods are too archaic. Which is weird, because they're the methods that everyone uses. So, whoever made this, or is making it, is doing something I don't understand.
Something innovative.
Mm-hmm. But it's just frustrating.
I understand. I'm actually about to do research myself on the subject. So if I find anything, I'll let you know.
I mean, it's not really my business. If you're working for Hallstrom, just tell him.
That's fair.
I've basically done everything I can do as I've told Hallstrom. So it's basically just sitting on a shelf.
Okay. If that gnome comes back, will you let me know?
I could do that.
I think I might want to have a longer conversation with him.
Okay, I could do that. But only because you've done me a favor, Lorna.
I appreciate it, bud.
Be safe out there.
You as well. Shall we go, Armstrong?
Anscombe looks at you and says, "Yeah, smells nice in here."
It does. And I'll lead the way out. Peculiar. Does the strange, innovative method that Bud seemed to talk about remind me of home?
Could.
Okay. It's generally where new ideas are born.
Yeah. The idea of innovations in preparation of ingredients definitely makes you think. It could definitely have a Ceresian touch to it.
It also makes me think, no, wouldn't be an odd participant in innovation. Well, to the Marigard.
Right. I think I know the way on this one. You can still lead it. I'm still following. It felt good to know something.
There's still plenty of time for you to learn more. I think we might even benefit from paying a visit to the Druids.
You think so?
As far as the natural components of this.
Okay. I mean, I've never been in there.
I was introduced to it on my first day. Just, look how pretty it is in here, and then the door shut again. So that's pretty much my experience as well.
Oh, well.
It's like a wide forest. It's very cool. It's on the inside.
That is cool. Okay.
The magic is missing.
Yeah, I'm learning that in hundredfold since I arrived. Yeah, lead the way, Lorna.
Sure. Let's stop with the Druids first. If they can tell us more about what comprises this concoction, I could research it in more detail, since all I know right now is that it includes red fur.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
You head back to the Marigard Academy without interruption of a random event.
Weird gnomes.
Weird gnomes. When you get to the Marigard Academy, as always, you enter the front, and there is Persh. The Goliath is gone, and Persh is back to work, and he looks up as he enters and says, "Back already?"
A little bit of research is required for this.
Right. Wipe your feet.
Is there a floor mat?
No. You get the impression this is Persh's attempt at a joke.
I give like a weak laugh. Do you know if, sorry, who's the instructor for the Druids?
Persh points at one of the portraits and says, "Foley Clearwater."
Is he in?
He's always in.
Okay. I believe I have some questions for him.
Alright.
But before I go, that new recruit, do you know what course he took?
Without looking up, Persh says, "Paladin."
Oh. Alright. I thought maybe, and she'll turn to Anscombe and say, I thought maybe I might have been a new wizard, but,
No, he had a lot to say about Hond.
Do I Know anything about Hond?
Roll a religion check.
Eh.
A 14. Yeah, you've heard of Hond. Hond is one of the really chaotic gods. He's a god of freedom, of justice, and of breaking bindings. You remember his symbol is that of a chain link around a sword that's bound in a red cord.
Good choice in worship, I suppose.
Who am I to judge?
Fair enough.
Are you two here to loiter?
No, we're on our way. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. He has not looked up
No
from the parchment
worries.
the whole time.
We are going to go to the druid classroom.
Okay, you head into the druid room. As you know where it is, you open the door. It is a massive Fey-inspired sanctuary. And as you enter, you hear from a nearby mist of trees, "Hey!
Hello?
Hello!
Mr. Clearwater?
That's my dad's name. Please, just Folly." And as he says that, a Fairbolg looks like he's just standing up, as he was laying back in like a pile of pink leaves. And as he stands up, you see this Fairbolg appear, and he says, "What is it that I, Folly Clearwater, can do for you?"
Lorna's just a little bewildered by this.
Behind you,
This
Anscombe
guy.
says, "Whoa."
Hello, sir. I had a few questions, if you don't mind me asking.
Oh, absolutely. What is it that I can do for you?
I take it you're probably very familiar with plant life and natural means.
Yeah, that one could say is up my alley. Yeah.
I have a mixture here that has been causing some problems in the city. It's clearly natural.
Oh, are you on what they call a free agency?
Yes, I am, sir.
Well, I am happy to be of use to you during your duties. Let's see what you've got. And he approaches you, and this is a very tall. The Firbolgs are extremely tall race, and Folly is tall even for a Firbolg. He's well over 8 feet tall as he looms,
Whoa.
and he's basically like, it's like a man was stretched. He's just super gangly. Very long blonde hair pulled into a very long ponytail. Even his demeanor is relaxed and just a little bit gangly as he kind of elopes his way over. And he says, "I don't know you."
No, I'm relatively new here. My name's Lorna.
"Oh, well, nice to meet you." And he holds out a hand.
I will take it and give it a polite shake. And this is my partner, Inscum.
Anscombe. And Anscombe says, "Right, yeah, and he holds out a hand. "This is a beautiful room." And Folly says, "Yeah, right. So, let me see. You have a sample?"
I do. I know some of what's in it, but I could do better research if I knew most, if not all, of the substances. So I will hand him the oak leaf and say, "Be careful. It causes euphoria," which seems like a weird thing to warn someone about, but not in a good way.
"Oh, mind-altering substances are ones I'm pretty familiar with. Let me take a look."
Lorna
And
privately thinks, "Yeah, I got that."
he's looking at it, and he says, This looks weird and gross.
It does. I can agree with you.
He like holds a hand over it, and you see green magic run from his fingertips and the hand holding the oak leaf. And he says, "Why don't you tell me your secrets, little guy?" And then there's like a brief pause, and he says, "Huh. Okay. Right, all right. Why did they do that to you?" This guy's been through some hard times.
Talk to it.
I'm talking
Oh,
to it.
wow. That's kind of amazing.
Sure. And you see he finally, like, his hand lowers and he looks at you and he says, "What you have right here is a drug." And he hands
Yes.
it back to you. And he
Uh-huh.
says, "There's red fern in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's an unusual concentration of mind-altering magic that's been infused into this drug."
As in not a natural substance, but magic itself.
Right, yeah. Like, do you know what Banasite is?
Do I know what Banasite is?
It's a spell component. You're
Pretty
familiar with
smart.
it that much.
Sure.
You don't know the details about it, but you know it's a spell component.
It's used in magic?
Yeah. It sure is. Also, Mr. Widget likes to call it like a magical battery.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that in here too.
A lot of Banasite.
That's
Do
in
you
there.
think that's the mind-altering magic is
No,
adhered to the Banasite? Or
Nope.
is that... Okay.
don't think so. There's something else here too. Looks like it has something to do with coal, actually.
Coal, like C-O-A-L?
Yeah, like the charcoal shit you get in the bottom of a fire pit.
Okay.
There's also an oil in here that I can't tell what it is. Can't talk to oil, obviously.
Sure.
You'll want to talk to maybe an alchemist or an artificer. They'll be able to identify that for you.
Is that the widget you were talking about?
Yeah, Widget, she could totally help you. Yeah.
Great.
You know where that
Okay.
is. You know where the artificer classroom is?
I don't, but I would love some directions.
Oh, it's super simple. You just take a right out of the main room here, past Persh, and as you keep going, you just go up the tower, and you stop at the door that sounds like everything's blowing up behind. That's the artificer room.
Thank you very much, Foley.
Last thing, there's definitely, this is the part that makes me a little uppity, makes me a little upset, but I'm not going to express that to you because that's not fair, as you have not offended me in any way. But in this material, there are the seeds of a Gungden plant, which is
A Gungden?
Gungden. Yeah, it's a tree that only grows in the Feywild. So the fact that it's here in my hand means that it's not growing in the Feywild like it should be. So
As in someone's cultivating it on the prime-material plane.
yeah, which is a big no-no.
Is it because it's an invasive species?
No, it doesn't belong here. Like it needs to be in the Feywild where the rest of its kind is. If it grows here, that magic, the Feywild's influence, doesn't affect it properly, and it corrupts it into something else.
Do you know in what quality of land that this transplanted tree could grow?
Well, it would have to be pretty moist, pretty high humidity. Ferrum would actually be a pretty choice place to grow a corrupted Gungden plant.
Okay.
The thing is, like, it would be a real, pardon my draconic, a fucked up plant.
Okay.
Like
Do you
the
know
sort
what
that
it Sorry.
Grown?
Hmm.
I have no idea what a corrupted Dungden plant would look like grown up, but it would be horrible and monstrous. Because basically a defiance of nature.
Okay, well then, if I find it, it'll be easy to know what I'm looking at.
Now, if it grew in the Feywild like it was supposed to, it would look like a beautiful oak tree that had iridescent leaves and would frequently give birth to nymph.
Oh.
Yeah, so beautiful thing. But here in the prime material, piece of shit. Probably the sort that would hurt people.
So, would you consider it a crime to bring it to the prime material plane to cultivate?
I would consider it a crime against nature, but I am not the law, and I imagine it's not actually a crime. It's just ethically terrible.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's incredibly useful information.
Yeah, when it comes to plants and plant-based substance, I would say I'm a pretty good source of information.
I thought you would be, which is why I came right to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. You want to hang out for a bit? No? Okay.
No, I would love to come back, but this free agency is a little pressing right now.
That's fair. Just no druid students right now, so I'm pretty bored.
That's too bad. If
Yep.
you want to share, I know you said you're a fan of, or knowledgeable on altering substances. I'm sure you could teach me plenty of things later.
Oh, yeah. And also, I have some of the perfectly acceptable pipe weed available that you're welcome to come smoke with me if you're bored in your free time.
I would love to pay you a visit again.
Excellent. We can talk about maybe natural theory on that sort of thing. It's my jam. Anyway, I know you two got work to do. Man, he's really just been staring. And you look behind you, and Anscom's just
Looking around.
like at this massive Fey sanctuary. Hey,
That's beautiful.
hey, what was his name?
Anscom.
Hey, Ansk, and finally, oh, sorry, and he's no, I get it. I worked real hard to get this place here, and Anscom just kind of, I see that.
Foley, before I go, would you be able to cultivate
Please,
a Gundin plant?
please, Foley. Foley was my brother.
I'm so sorry. Folly.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be able to cultivate a Gundin plant naturally here in this space?
No, this is not. This is just a demi-plane. If I were to do that, it would be just as corrupt as anything that these nefarious buttheads have made this drug out of.
I understand.
Yeah, like, you don't understand. The Feywild is more in connect with magic than we could ever hope to be. So, if I were to do that in this demi-plane, it would be just as deprived of magic as it would be if you were to plant it outside in Faerun. So, that would be a crime, and I wouldn't do it.
Of course. This has been incredibly helpful, and I will be back. I promise.
Oh, perfect. I look forward to it.
Thank you, and she'll shake his hand again.
He shakes it and then says, "Best of luck, you two. I look forward to the future." And he goes back toward the bed of flower petals. And you see that it's like near that tree, there are hundreds of books that are discreetly tucked into that tree. So he's not just, it doesn't look like he's just sleeping. But he does pick up a pipe as he's sitting back down.
Of course. I kind of give Anscombe a push because he's still staring.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Off we go.
Sorry, that was just, I've never seen anything like it.
I know. I'm also very impressed.
Okay, yeah, we can move. What'd you learn?
A lot, actually. Pretty much the bulk of the breakdown of this mixture, but the oil is something that we need to consult an artificer on. And I think we have a lead.
A lead?
Mm-hmm. A plant that... Folly? Shit, what was it? Was it folly or folly? Do you remember?
It was definitely Folly, because he called him Foley, and he got kind of. He said it was his brother's name.
Okay. Shit. Folly. 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 Okay. He said that there's a plant that is native to the Feywild, an incredibly beautiful plant that is part of this mixture, but it's being grown here, most likely in Farum, and because of that, it's twisted and wrong.
Oh,
So if we find the plant,
we find the source.
we do.
Okay.
Being grown here, most likely because the topography suits its growth, but it's not right because it's not the Feywild, so it's growing warped.
Okay.
But apparently, it's very easy to spot, or Folly thinks that it would be easy to spot because it would be twisted and unnatural in this landscape.
Okay. I mean, I guess if one thing doesn't fit with the others, but I don't know
Yeah.
that much. I mean, I grew up around plants and trees, but I don't know if I could spot a wrong one. I guess.
Well, if we decide to go this route, we'll take our time.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe comb the Allen Forest. I kind of know a native of the forest that I might be able to ask for help. If I can find him.
You what?
I met a kobold in there on one of my first tasks, and he seemed to know his way around.
Okay.
That's just one option. We should figure out what this oil does first, so... And there's a book I want to check.
Oh, yeah, sure. Lead the way.
Okay, I think this is going very well, actually.
I mean, it seems like it, yeah. You seem to know exactly who to talk to.
It's honestly, it feels like luck. But we're going to see Widget now.
Let's hope
Apparently
it holds
she's
strong, yeah.
We need to see the artificer instructor. So I will follow Foley's directions
Okay.
to get to the exploded classroom.
There are no explosions at the moment. But there are the sounds of steam. It is noticeable that when you're approaching this door, you smell carbon, you smell gunpowder, and you smell hot metal. But the artificer's door is basically almost as simple as the fighter's door, but there is a lens in the middle of it, and you feel like you're looking at just a glass eye that's looking at you.
To Anscom, I'll say, should we just go in?
It's just classroom. I
don't know. Okay, I will take the door and open it.
Okay, you open the door and you're looking into the artificer's room. It is... How do I describe this? Full of contraptions. There are steamwork machinery running in all corners of this classroom. There's 2 tables in the middle of the room that look like it's for study, and the rest of the room is crammed with machinery. Devices and implements that look like they're used to shape things into whatever it is you could imagine they could be made into. A massive steamwork boiler in the corner of the room. It's well over 20 feet wide. And it is constantly just like making noises as heat is pumped into it, and steam and overpressure valves blow out of it in all sides. And as you're opening the door, there is a halfling woman covered in lenses and machinery all over her coat, and her hand appears to be, maybe it's a prosthetic or it's a glove covered in metal working, and she's pointing at a blackboard with it as this long needle of a pointer is pointing out of it. And she turns and looks at you, and 4 lenses like pour out of her face, and she's looking at you, and she says, "Hello, who are you?" And
Hi.
like there's like 3 students at the tables that look up from their writing at the change
Sorry
in the lecture.
to interrupt. I was pointed here by Folly to ask a question.
Class, about your studies? And she, like, hops down off the stage and approaches you, and the lenses, like, finally, like, collapse up back into a contraption on the side of her head, and you see what is a fairly well taken care of young, maybe like 30 years old halfling woman with brown hair looking at you with bright eyes, and she says, all right, Folly sent you. What can I help you with?
Yes, he identified some of the components of this mixture I have, but the oil eluded him. He said that you might be able to help me.
Of course I can help you. Let me see it.
I hand it over.
She opens the leaf.
It's drug.
You just... Oh, you're on a free agency right now.
Yes, I'm not
Okay.
showing you my hobby.
I thought you were just... Okay. I was like,
Would
very
you
bold
no.
of you.
Yes,
Right.
that would have been incredibly inappropriate.
Right, so he's identified everything but the oil? Let's
Pretty
see.
much, yes.
Yeah, I guess that would be an oil base, and she's like muddling it around with her finger.
Don't put it in your mouth. Oh, please.
And she like
Away from your
goes
face.
toward like the back of the building, like basically dismissing everything else you're saying as you've given
Okay.
her a task to do. And
I
Anscombe
follow.
says, maybe this was a mistake, as he's following you.
Trust the experts. Trust the process.
You watch as another lens, a purple one, and then Widget, the instructor, begins to inspect it some more. And you see lightning out of her finger into it, and she separates it out, and she says, There's Banasite in here.
Yes.
There is a volatile mixture of coal and alumina. Then there...
Coal and alumina.
Alumina, yes.
Okay.
He is right, there is an oil in here. It is, as the spell is telling her. Sulfur oil.
Sulfur oil.
Mm-hmm.
What does that do?
No, it's, well, you said it's a drug. So it likely acts as a reagent to allow the mixture to quickly access the bloodstream.
Okay.
Too much of it, though, and it will basically destroy your taste buds.
Part of the complaint of users is that it makes everything taste like soil.
Yep, that tracks for me. That makes sense.
Is that permanent?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Destroys your taste
you-
buds.
You only get one set of taste buds.
So-
Well, if you have the means to combine all this without the sulfur oil reacting with the alumina and the coal and exploding, you get this, it looks like.
Are you saying that it's likely to explode if done improperly?
If you make it wrong, absolutely.
Is it something that you'd need a facility to accomplish?
Not necessarily. If you could keep it at the right temperature, to keep the oil the right viscosity, you could keep the sulfur from reacting with the alumina, and then the coal and the alumina will blend seamlessly, and then the oil will set in. So, if you know what you're doing, and you have it at the right temperature, it will not blow up.
Okay, so you'd need to know what you're doing. Applying an alchemist of some sorts would have to.
Probably.
Okay,
Or someone that was told how to do it.
sure. Okay, thank you. That's pretty much every aspect of the mixture solved.
All in a day's work.
I appreciate this. You're Widget, yes?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. Who are you?
My name is Lorna.
Oh, it's always
and-
business first. Lorna, it's a pleasure to meet you. And she reaches up with a hand.
I reach down and shake. I've met a lot of teachers today.
Well, no one ever says you can't use the faculty with your free agency, and most students don't. So, well done.
Thanks.
Was there anything else? I have a class to get back to.
Yes, no, please get back to your class. I appreciate this.
As you are, like, beginning to head toward the door, you hear Widget say, "And now, class, I've been reminded of another subject, the potentials of explosive when creating alchemical components." And then she begins to move on with that lecture.
We swiftly leave.
Okay. Yeah, you leave the artificer's classroom.
Okay. I think I have a plan, Anscombe.
Perfect, as this has all been, I mean,
It feels overwhelming, doesn't it?
a little, yeah, but we are making progress, clearly. So, what are we doing?
So, there's a specific book I'd like to reference. But while we do that, I think I have a method of checking the forest for that tree I was talking about without having to trek through it ourselves.
Okay.
Just follow me. And she will actually lead him up to her dorm room.
Okay, yeah. So once you get to the dormitories, Anscombe, like, looks a little nervous, and he says, "Wait, your dorm?
Yes.
I thought we were going to the library."
We probably will, but there is a volume that I possess that I think might be able to help us, and it happens to be in my room.
Oh,
Alright.
okay. I'll just wait out here.
There's plenty of room.
Nope, it's good. It's fine.
Anscombe,
Lorna?
don't be weird about this.
It's fine. You're just... and he seems to assent and
She
follows
opens the
you.
door, nudges him in.
Okay, we're in your room now.
There's, 3 beds?
Yeah.
I have a room to myself. Just take a seat. It might take a minute.
Sure. And he takes a seat on the other bed.
I'm looking very nervous, I'm sure.
Yeah. He's super
Okay.
nervous.
So she will crouch down to Requiem. And she will say, "I know I said that your form is perfect. You are perfect. But do you mind if I change you just for a little while so that you can help me look for something?
What is it that you need?
I would like a bird's eye view of the Altland Forest in search of this tree that I've learned about.
Okay.
You're okay with that?"
There's a... And Requiem takes on the form of a raven. A black, ghostly raven with pure white eyes.
You're perfect. And she's gonna pick him up.
This is what friends are for.
You're right. She's gonna touch her forehead to his forehead. And she's going to communicate telepathically what she thinks the tree is supposed to look like, according to what Folly said.
Okay. Folly said he didn't know what a corrupted one
He
would
said
look
that
like.
it would look monstrous.
Yeah.
Or it would stand out in the natural topography.
Okay, so that's what you tell Requiem.
Mm-hmm.
And Requiem says,
I will search.
and he...
Can I open the window to the room?
You can. It doesn't seem to matter. As
Oh,
Requiem
fuck, he can
just
go
goes-
through walls!
Yeah, Requiem just flies straight through the wall.
Come back if you find anything.
In the distance, you all hear a... as it seems like an ascent.
And she looks at Anscombe and says, "Alright, that's one."
That was a ghost? I just realized he wasn't a dog.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, not
A
normal.
lot of people have questions about him when they first see him. Don't worry about it.
I've
He's a
never... it's
he's
just
a good boy.
I've never seen an undead familiar before. Is he undead?
good...
Is it undead? Is she undead? I don't know.
He. His name is
He.
Requiem.
Okay. Sorry. I've never been very good at noticing my surroundings. Okay.
It's okay. I'm quite good at that myself, so.
No, right. Okay. Book.
You seem very nervous.
Yep.
Why?
Roll a persuasion.
Mm. 19.
It's just never been. I mentioned I grew up on a farm, right?
Sure.
Yeah, we weren't very close to like the city and stuff. This is the most time I've spent with a woman, so I realize I'm super unprepared.
What would you need to prepare for, Anscombe?
I don't know what to do. Okay, like when I was told I would be on a free agency, I thought I'd be fighting stuff and not talking much. So I feel out of place.
I'm sorry I'm making you nervous, but please don't be.
No, it's not you. You're fine. I feel drastically uneducated. That's how you'd say it, I think.
Well, the whole point of this is that we're learning, right?
Right. Exactly.
And the moment we get in trouble, I'm going to be completely useless and relying on you.
I'm honestly
That's
now I'm looking forward to it.
Sure, you'll show me what you're made of. I know it.
It's just much simpler. It's much easier than figuring out to talk to the druid who talks like a huge junkie, but knows everything we needed to about the specific. It's been an unusual afternoon.
I hope you've at least been having a little fun.
It's better than training, I'll say that. It's been a lot more interesting.
Consider it a nice break. Do you mind if I pull out my book and do a little bit of reading?
No, do what you need to.
Do you need anything to occupy yourself? I can get you a drink.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Does he still look nervous to me?
Yep.
Okay. She's actually going to sit down next to him.
Okay. He
And
seems more nervous.
Just kind of place her hand on the bed and say, "This tome that I'm about to pull out is very personal to me.
Oh, I'm not gonna read it. Don't worry.
I would appreciate if you just anything that you see about it, you just keep to yourself."
Oh, don't worry. Your secret's safe with me.
Okay. She'll give him a smile and stand back up and go to her lockbox
Okay.
and pull out the book and flip through it to see if she can find anything about the mind-altering magic imbued in a substance.
Roll history.
Gotcha. Not great.
You're looking through the book. It's a trick that was used often because it was very useful and it was very simple to do. It was also economically cheap. Using Banasite to cast spells has been done for millennia. But the book talks about using Banasite to imbue wine with basically the suggestion spell. Which is a thing that you've heard of people doing, is imbuing a spell into an item to make it have that magical effect. Banasite's very good at that, as is diamond dust. But the book talks about using wine as a means to cast a spell on someone. And because it is in direct contact with their bloodstream as they are ingesting it, it's almost as if the magic takes that as willing or as accepting.
Supersedes the DC.
Correct. There is no save when one ingests it in this way. And so people were manipulated generally at like a dinner or a fancy meal or even a more intimate situation where drinks are shared, it's almost like a poisoning, but instead of it being poison, it is suggestion, charm person, dominate person. Powerful spells that normally the mind has a chance to resist, but when done in this way, it often bypasses the minds of all but the strongest willed.
And it's a method that my predecessor used.
Often.
Often. For experimentation, I'm sure.
Yep.
I see. Okay, that does help. She'll shut the book. Okay.
You see Anscombe is like at the window and is like looking out, pointedly not looking at what you were doing.
If he's not paying attention, she's gonna set the book down and walk up behind him and lean over his shoulder and say, "What are you looking at?"
There were people training out there, and I wanted to see if they were Illarads or if they were one of the other courses.
Did you find your answer?
No, I can't really tell from up here. Well, I can tell it's not a Goliath, so
Probably not.
probably not the fighters. Did you find what you needed?
I did. And we are making our trip to the library proper now.
Oh, okay, perfect. And he kind of steps away from the window and says, "Right, any word from your bird?"
He can't communicate with me this far away.
Okay,
But he knows how to find me.
all right. Well, shall we go then?
I hope that you are more comfortable in the library.
Maybe.
There aren't very many people there.
You see, he just kind of blinks and says, "Okay, I'm sure I'll find something to distract myself."
Lorna's just thinking very privately, this is kind of fun.
You monster.
She'll give him a smile and usher him out the door.
You leave your room.
Mm-hmm. I put the book back, of course. I lock it and take the key with me.
Okay. As you head out into the tower, are you going up to the wizard's room?
Yes.
All right. We make your way up to Tabernacle's classroom once again.
Yes.
Only this time you have Anscombe with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. As you return, you see Callie is not at the table. She's on the far side of the room, and it looks like she's practicing the somatic components for a spell.
Mm-hmm.
And Halitheth is not here. I will remove his token for the moment.
Destroy him.
Tabernacle is having a conversation with someone.
Mm-hmm. Can I see that person?
Not from up here, but when you peek over the balcony, you see that Tabernacle is speaking with an old man.
Okay. So I will wait with Callie. I catch her eye, just to say hello.
Callie, in the middle of somatic components, just goes, and she's
Yeah.
still concentrating, like. And it's
Alright.
says, "There's a dragon in here. I knew that. I knew there was a dragon in structure."
It's always startling the first time.
Yes, it is.
He's really very nice.
I'll take your word for it.
I might even ask him a few questions if I can't find myself what we're looking for.
Okay.
Maybe be able to experience the great pleasure of conversation once more.
Lot of that. Okay.
Yes, lots
Yeah.
of that.
Again, not my typical way of doing things, but it seems better as there's less injuries.
That's why I've never been hurt before.
So it seems. Right. Can I help you look? What are we looking for?
I am looking for spells that would incite rage.
Okay.
Which seems to be So the weird thing is it's a combination of the two drugs, the haze and the impact, that seem to not work well with one another.
Okay. Do you
It
think
makes... Mhm.
do you think it's on purpose?
I don't know, but the way at least the haze works is purposeful. There is some sort of persuasive spell imbued within it. And that's what I'm trying to find, but
Oh.
I'm trying to figure out how that could react with impact to make that violent impulse.
Okay.
Like maybe there's a spell I can find.
Okay, so we've learned what haze is made of, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
What is impact made of?
Do I know?
Do you know? Not likely. You
I
can
didn't-
roll.
I never asked.
You can roll a history if you want.
Okay. Pretty good.
Why do you know so much about drugs?
I don't know.
You
She
remember
was a teenager once.
You remember hearing that impact is specifically mostly just a plant, but it is grown in a specific way. You know that it is smoked. You know that what you smoke is the buds of the plant. But that's all you know.
I don't know the feeling it gives you, the purpose.
Oh, you know it's an hallucinogenic. You know it makes you see into the ethereal, and it makes you have basically illusion. It's like dreaming while awake.
Okay, so if impact makes you hallucinate,
Does
we
it?
don't. Yes, sorry, I
Oh.
didn't say that part out loud. I was just thinking it. Impact makes you hallucinate, and haze makes you. It charms you, basically. So, theoretically speaking, those two things interact together, and it might make one hallucinate that they're being attacked, maybe, and that's why they're so violent and defensive.
That sounds terrifying.
It does. So, we should look for a charming spell that, coupled with a hallucinogenic, might trigger that kind of fear or hostile response.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess I'll start looking over here. And you look over there and see what we can find.
And if we can't find anything in like maybe an hour, I could just ask Tabernac and maybe he'll be able to help us.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead and roll me investigation at advantage and a D100.
Investigation at advantage. Okay. D100.
A 21.
71.
You begin looking into spells, and Anscombe actually does prove an aid, as he says, "Don't you think this would be like an illusion, like an illusion spell, that sort of thing, that would make you see something that's not actually there?"
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's very probable.
you look into the illusion magics, and after 40 minutes of sifting through all the potential illusion magics you find one that the implications of which kind of scare you. You find the spell where the description reads as tapping into the nightmares of a creature to create an illusory manifestation of its deepest fears. Phantasmal Killer.
Okay. Phantasmal Killer. That's a very powerful spell, isn't it?
4th level.
More powerful than mine. Okay. And do I think that that's what's being imbued in... that it could potentially be what's being imbued in haze or impact?
You think that maybe if these two drugs work together,
That's what
that
it
might
could potentially...
it might
Okay.
be forcing someone to suffer the effects of Phantasmal Killer.
Okay. Anscom, I think I found it.
It's like you've been searching for like a good hour and a quarter now, and he says, oh, thank fuck. Okay. What? Oh, as he like cracks his back from leaning over books, and he says, what is it?
It could potentially the meeting of these two separate drugs could create the effects of what's called a phantasmal killer, which is a higher level spell, not something I have access to at this time. I don't know if it's on purpose. It could just be sheer coincidence. But
He's like reading over what the spell does, and he says, so they have to fight their own nightmare.
or what they think is their nightmare, and it's just innocent people nearby.
That's awful.
It is. I can see how it might be useful if someone wants to just sow chaos or distraction.
Okay. That checks off a couple things on the list Hallstrom gave us.
Yes, we have what it's made of, and a relative theory of where it came from, sort of, at least with the tree. But we don't know who's making it.
Okay.
Or why.
Well, maybe if we find this corrupted tree, we might be able to stake out. That's a word I know.
That's actually what I'm hoping for. So we'll wait for Rek to come back. And if he finds it, fantastic. We'll go, we'll wait, we'll see if somebody comes to harvest elements of it.
What if he doesn't find it?
We'll have to go look ourselves, or we'll have to find a seller and do it a different way, but it'd be nice if we could. I don't think that I would pass as somebody looking to buy recreational drugs.
He like takes a glance at you and he says, no, you wouldn't. You're too proper. You need to like roll in the dirt a little, you know.
Would you help me look properly unproper if the need arose?
I'm sure we can do that. I mean, there's a secondhand store on the main stretch. We can grab you some grubs. Do you mind wearing rags for a minute?
Of course not. If the need is there, I wouldn't choose to do so if I could help it.
Anscombe kind of raises an eyebrow and says, sometimes you need to wear rags, and it sounds like this is the time. Yeah, let's hit the secondhand store and get you some homeless clothes.
Okay. As backup, if we can't find the tree.
Yeah.
Or even if we find the tree, we might have to do this anyways. I was just going to suggest we wait in my room until Requiem came back.
We could do that too. I feel like we're not accomplishing anything.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, we can go hang out.
Do you know where that store is?
Yeah, that's where yes.
Okay, I'll follow you then. You're leading now.
Anscombe seems to be slightly cheered by knowing something, and he leads the way out of the classroom. You leave the Marigard Academy, waving to Persh as you, or at least Persh waves at you guys as you're leaving, and you head out into the main street. It is not far, but it is definitely not on the main stretch. The name of the store is simply Gertie's Pawns, which it appears to just be a pawn shop, but when you're looking inside of it, you see all sorts of wares, from weapons to shoes to household implements to clothes. And when you enter, you see there is a human woman who's maybe 50 years old with gray hair, and she looks like she could probably use a shower, as her hair's a little bit greasy, as it's tied up beneath a narrow hat. And she looks at you as you head in, and she says, welcome to Gertie's. How can I help you?
were just going to look around, if you don't mind.
You're spending money, right?
Of course.
Take your time.
And she goes back to helping a customer that's currently like pouring out things to hopefully sell to her on the counter.
She's gonna turn to Ansco and say, I'm relying on you now I don't know what to look for.
And
So you pick something for me.
right, okay.
I'll pay for it, of course.
He kind of looks at you and he says, "Go like this. Do a T pose."
She does.
He looks at you and then at the racks, and he begins pulling off a couple of garments, and he says, "What do you think? Crimson or yellow?"
Yellow.
Okay.
For sure.
He puts the one he grabbed back, and it takes a moment, but he does gather up on an outfit that would look not like filthy and
More
grubby.
subtle, at the very least.
You definitely look like someone who's, with this outfit on, you look like someone who has grown up either in the slums or at least in poverty. And he hands it to you. The only thing he says is, but don't trade in your boots.
Trade in?
Don't swap your boots. Everyone has good boots. Boots are the most important.
Even if you don't have money.
Even if you don't have money, the most important thing is your shoes, because you can't work if you can't walk.
So if I had less quality shoes, I might even look like I was trying to look.
Yep, exactly.
See, you are smart.
You grow up with this.
Okay. Is there like a place that I can put these clothes on?
He points, and there's like a changing room in the
I'll go
corner
do
of the
that.
pawn shop. Okay, you get dressed in the.
Dressed down.
You dress down in the impoverished attire.
I come out and I do a little twirl. How do I look?
Straight off the street, and it's perfect.
Oh, thank you.
The clothes are clean, but in places they are a little bit threadbare. They clearly have been repaired many times, but at least they were repaired from the same fabric. So they're like, there's like a mild print to the yellow dress, but in some places it's suddenly in like a different
Been
direction.
lifted,
Yeah.
transplanted, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't look bad, and Lorna, as a remarkably attractive woman, wears it well. So, when you finish selecting the clothes, the Gertrude, the woman at the counter, looks at you and says, "All right, 4 copper."
Certainly. Just one more moment. I want to make sure that I have everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna turn to Anscombe. She's gonna wink. And she's going to cast Detect Magic to see if there's anything interesting in the shop that might not stand out otherwise.
Okay, let's find out. Roll a D100 for me.
Okay. 32.
Hold on. Maybe there is. Okay. Yes. Yes, there is. Toward the back of the shop, one of the things on the shelves, there's a shelf of leather pouches, but the leftmost one gleams of magic. It doesn't look any different from the other bags, but you see it as a magical item.
What kind of magic does it give off?
That is a good question. Conjuration magic.
Do I have any idea what the potential for this bag might be because of that?
It could be... I mean, you're proficient in Arcana, and it smells of conjuration magic. You think it's likely to be a bag of holding.
Hey, all right. So she'll just take a moment to put on a show of like just looking at the bags and make it look like she very arbitrarily selects the one on the left, the magical one.
Okay.
Like she doesn't know what she's found.
Okay.
And then she's going to walk up, place it on the counter and say, 4 copper plus this.
She looks down at the bag and up at the ones on the wall, and she says, 5 silver, 4 copper.
5 silver, 4 copper. That sounds perfectly reasonable. In fact, this is such a lovely establishment. She puts a gold down and pushes it over.
The Gertrude looks at it and says, well, you're welcome here any time, as she takes the gold.
Thank you so much, Gertrude.
And Anscombe's going to roll an insight check to see if he knows what just happened. I don't think he does.
Poor guy.
But I need you to roll me a deception.
Okay. 18.
Or Anscombe rolled a 16.
He's just like, okay.
He just says, she bought a bag. Okay. You have purchased a bag of holding that the pawn shop didn't know it had.
I was hoping she didn't know.
It's not a very attractive looking bag of holding.
I don't care about that whole stuff.
It's true. It fits over your back like a satchel, like every other bag of holding there ever was. And you have an outfit fit for someone growing up in poverty.
Okay. As they leave the shop, she's going to turn to Anscombe and be like, can you ruffle up my hair a little bit so I look more to the part?
Sure.
I can't see myself, so...
You're fine, you're fine. He pulls up a canteen and he, like, runs water over his hands and rubs them together and then just begins to... And your hair is soon a brush of tangles and mats and, in all directions. And he says...
This is a huge improvement, I'm sure.
It's a different look, but you wear it well. And as you have bought this and got yourself looking impoverished, before your next step, that is where we're going to stop today's session.
Okay. I want to keep playing.
I know. But you accomplished a lot. You got a lot
have.
done. All right. Well
I
done.
learned a lot. I took notes.
Agency. You did. I'm proud of you. You learned a lot about the drugs in Amaranth.
I love drugs. Drug master.
So, did you have fun?
I did.
Awesome.
Folly is amazing. Probably one of the best characters I've ever encountered.
I'm glad you like Folly. He's been he's
so fucking funny. It's kind of eerie how well you do the stoner.
I've met quite a few. That is where I will stop the recording, as I admit that I know stoners.